this is basically the class which we made in the previous video, and this is the inherited class, right? So this is basically called the parent or the base class, and this is your derived class, or you can also call as child class, right? So there is one thing which I added over here, is that I added one more variable, c, right? Now a question arises is that, or you can say I give you a requirement, and my requirement is that you are just supposed to inherit a and b, you're not supposed to inherit c. Now let's see how we'll do it. Now there are various methods to do it. Now one is a very basic method which I'm doing. It's not a great method, but to just start, let's just say that is a method. So I'll just say a, b, right? Let's say that it also has its own parameters, which is d and n. I can call self dot a is equals to a, self dot b is equals to b, self dot d is equals to d, self dot n is equals to n. Now if you do something like this is not correct, because if you're again defining a and b, then it doesn't mean that you have inherited a and b from this class, right? So if you did like this is not correct, right? So what we need to do is that, first of all, let's just remove this. Now how to know that I'm going to take a and b which is from abc? You can write abc, the class name, dot whatever function you have, right? So definitely you can do underscore in it, right? And you can define it, self comma a comma b. See, now what does it means? Like, see, I also supposedly want to call test over here. I can write abc dot test as well, right? So this is just a way how I am basically doing my things. But as of now, let's just ignore this, right? Let's not do this. Okay. Now you would be thinking that, okay, like let's just give four arguments, right? X, Y, Z, and it will ask for four arguments. That is absolutely right. But I need to make C constant for it to work. Okay. Now what I'm talking about, just see. Okay. I gave four arguments. It was asking for four, but it says this is missing. Now, if I want that, no, I want A and B, then one option is that I can make this as constant. Now it won't ask, right? I can now do a ob dot d. Okay, it's absolutely fine. Ob dot n, it's absolutely fine. If it talk ob dot a, all great. Ob dot b, all great, right? It's working all perfect. Now, supposedly I do this thing. Let's just rub it. Right. Now what we were expecting was that it should return this, right? Because we called abc.test over here, right? So let's just, what should we do is, if we remove test, now it will be an error, right? So we need to have self over here. I had self, right? So it is not returning me anything, right? Reason being that here, I'll tell you in next video that what is the reason it's not returning me something, right? Because when I'm doing this, basically I'm calling init only, correct? So why it isn't it doing so? So I'll just leave it as a homework. I'll answer this in the next video. But as of now, let's just try to call ob.test. Yeah, it works absolutely fine, right? So let's just remove this. Okay, we are not taking it this into a consideration. Now definitely you would be thinking that this is not a correct way, like we have just made c is equals to constant, that's why it's not asking. But the thing is that xyz, we just want to use a comma b, we have used a comma b somehow, right? But making all the other variables, because see, if there was any other variable as well like d, I have to also make d as constant, right? If I don't want to use d, self dot d is equals to d, and so if I want to use it, I have to make d constant as well. So definitely you would think that this is not a good way, right? So we'll talk about a better way of this, but as of now let me just tell you some other way of doing this. You can also write super, and this would also work absolutely fine, right? So ob dot d, let's just print it. print ob dot d, and then we can also print ob dot a. Right. Now see, one difference did you notice? The difference is that there when I was typing, when there was written over here ABC, then it was not giving me this, right? Then it was giving me the value of A, right? Okay, let me show you again if you didn't notice at that time, right? So let me print in different lines first, right? So if I'll do over here ABC, then it will print the value of A. But if I write over here super, right, this is also another way how you can do this. Then it will write over, like it will write main or x dot xyz object, right? So this happens, right? This is the difference which we will be observing over there, right? So one another way of doing this, like you can write super empty brackets, or you can also write super of what? Super of ABC. Sorry, super of XYZ. And what is the super of XYZ? That is ABC. XY comma self. This is just in another way of doing the same thing, right? But just so that it's not complex, I'll remove this. Now, people will ask that, wait, what can I do if I don't want this? Then you can simply do one thing is that you can define cell dot A is equals to A, cell dot B is equals to B. Then it will print, right? Then it will definitely print, which is quite obvious even, right? So that is not something of, but that is of no use, right? You can do this definitely. Now one interesting thing more about the difference, if I say, now supposedly I just rub this, right? So as of now it says missing one positional argument, which is D, right? Now it is not asking for okay, let's just remove D as of now, right? So you just notice one thing that, okay, let's just remove A and B as well, right? Let's just do it the way we did it earlier. Now if you see, it didn't show me error for C, right? It didn't show me any error for C, right? Here I have not made C constant. I'll rerun it, but it's not showing me error. This is also one difference between when you write over here abc dot that, or when you write super dot this, right? Okay, let me make one more variable e, cell dot e is equals to e. Now let's just see. Now there will be a error. Now it will ask for e, right? Okay, now why is it happening? Let me just tell you. Wait a minute. Let Yeah, it is working absolutely fine. Now supposedly I also make one more, which is f, and now I don't provide argument to f. Self dot f is equals to f, right? Now it says missing two positional arguments e and f. Now I have to give the values to e and f both. Now it will work, right? So with the super, what you can do is that if you're inheriting various variables, right, if you are just inheriting, okay, now before concluding, let me just do one more thing. Let me also inherit C from here, right? So then I'll make some concluding remarks. I know this might be somewhat confusing, but it isn't much confusing, right? If you just okay, let me just run it, right? See, now it just asked, now I just provided constant value to f. Now it is not asking for constant value of e, which means that till whatever point you will be asking for various parameters in this, then only one after that it won't ask for compulsory value. Else it will ask for, like if I remove this, then it will be an error, surely. Like now everything is like you are observing, right? So the concluding remarks which I can make is that when basically we are using super, right, then when supposedly we're using abc, right? Now let me just do same thing with abc. It will show me error. Why? Because it will need the value for e as well, right? It will need the value for e as well. But if I use super, it won't need the value for e, right? So only by one parameter they vary, only by one parameter, not much, right? So this is another way of doing the same thing. As of now, let's try to remove all of this, right? And just work about let's just work on an example which is actually there, right? Supposedly you make a class person, right? Now here I'll just define init of that. And in the init, what you have is, supposedly you have a name, you have a surname, and you have a year of birth, right? So these are the four parameters which we have. We can have self dot name is equals to name, self dot surname is equals to surname, and then we have self dot year of birth is equals to year of birth, right? That is supposedly what I defined, right? So when I define init, this is the simple init method. Then I can also define str, because now we are doing actual like example which we can implement in our projects or anywhere. And here definitely if I don't write str, if you recall the previous video which I have shown, basically this is there if you want to overwrite when you print the object. So when you print the object, let me say that I overwrite return uh, self, okay, self dot name, so means this person, plus some space, plus self dot surname. Right, let me just convert everything into string. No doubt they are already in string, but if by chance someone doesn't give in string, so this person, like supposedly was born in SGR a year of birth, right? So this is what we will be returning. Cool. So let me make a class student from it, right? And let the student is inherited from person, right? So what are the properties which a student will have same as that of person? Is this name, surname, and year of birth. But what will be additional will be the student ID. So let's just define that in the init method. Self, comma, student ID, comma. Now, when I'm making class, now here though there are only three parameters, right? So if I write, now supposedly if there were 10 parameters, would I write all the 10 parameters? No. So we will write over here star args. So these are nothing but these are the arguments. These are variable length arguments. So if not, if you don't know what is this variable length arguments, I'll make the video on it, or you can see videos of other YouTube channels. So this is simply means the variable length arguments, which means that if you give 5 arguments, it will take 5 arguments. If you take 100 arguments, it will ask for 100 arguments. That is a very simple meaning of it, right? So I can write self dot student id is equals to student id, right? And for this, right, we can simply call the init of person dot underscore init underscore self, comma, whatever the other arguments will be given, right? So now let's just try to make an object s is equals to student, and let me say that first is student id, right? The student id is 1. Let me name the person as Rick, comma, Harrison, comma, let the year of birth be 1998. So see, it worked perfectly fine, right? So that was a very simple thing. Now let me just call different things so as to know that is it working. S dot name, yeah, it gave Rick. Surname, Harrison, perfect. Year of birth, absolutely perfect. And then let's just see the student ID. It's also cool. It's 1. Now there is one method which I'll be talking about, which is instance.